Hi, this is Denise Matthew. Hope you're doing well. Back again for another week of the transits and a few things happening this week. But before I get into that, I just wanted to talk about, I guess you could say my stand on human design, because I think the last couple of weeks have been very interesting in that there's been a lot of, I guess you could say it could be related to Pluto and, Pluto moving into the gate 60. I think that that's sort of I was open to whatever happened, as of course we have to be, because the planets do what they're going to do, and how it all plays out is something that we can never really predict. Having said that, I just wanted to talk about the whole human design perspective. And I mean, I don't know. I don't really think I've ever talked about my experience or where I come from. I found human design in September 2014. So I'm just completing my 7th year and of my what would be considered a deconditioning process, if you believe in that. I do feel that to me it does feel like it has some merit, because as the years have gone through, I've sort of felt like things are shifting. But that's not really what I want to talk about. I do want to talk about how I began human design and how it's changed over the years. Human design was something that I had no idea about. A friend of mine sort of introduced me. They knew I liked astrology, and I was very taken by the astrology perspective, because I'd already been studying astrology for about 15 years as a hobby, really, because it was never something I wanted to do, in anything other than a hobby. And so when I found human design and I started to look at the charts, and the first teacher that I had was Karen Curry Parker, and I found her book right away, and I was stunned and amazed and couldn't believe that it was so accurate and so real and so in you know basically magical is what it felt like. And then I was looking, I did take pretty much every course I could take from her back then. Um, right to what we would consider level. Well, she had level 4 and that type of thing. And I took all those courses and read the books and took everything I could. There was always going to be that level, and it still remains that level of and frankly, I didn't even really touch on Jovian at all, because I was just fine with where I was. It felt like I knew pretty much everything I needed to learn about human design. And so, but I didn't get any certifications. I didn't ever go for it because it didn't matter to me. I didn't feel like I needed to be a specialist. I felt like I could practice what I knew by just knowing the information, by learning on my own and taking the classes and those types of things. So certification was never something that I ever went for. And then what happened was, in the beginning, there was information you could get on the internet about human design. Like you could find, like I remember listening to Rauru for the first time, and it was just talking about different profiles and stuff. It was recordings you could get, and I think it was humandesign.com. Humandesign.com since then has completely been, I guess it's been handed over to an advertising firm. And so if you go there and you try and find some of the stuff that used to be there, it's all gone. There was the ABCs, there was so much. So basically what happened was there was an active presence that said, okay, we're going to take this off of the internet, and it's not going to be free anymore, and you have to go and pay for it. And although I respect that perspective of paying for human design, the other perspective is that when you amalgamate it and push it all in one little space, you are forcing people to go to certain places. And what's happened over the years, as I watch it, is that it's all become factions. It's all become sort of little places. Well, you have this, you have the Gene Keys, and then you have Karen Curry Parker's quantum human design, and then you have Jovian's, like they say the real human design, and International Human Design School. Now, my perspective is this: it's all human design. And, for some, it's like, what set this off for me was there's a woman, and she is a human design. I think she trained through Jovian, and she had pretty much every course she could. And she was certified and worked with them. And she put up a video a couple weeks ago. Now, I don't watch human design videos. I just don't. It's not my thing. I just basically don't want to be influenced by other people. And so because of that, I don't actually watch it, but for some reason it just came up on my feed, and it said my something like my breakup with human design or something like that. So of course I had to watch it because I wanted to know exactly what it was. And in it, she said that because she was incorporating the gene keys into her teaching, Jovian had pretty much told her that she couldn't do it anymore. And that she could not, she had to teach by their standards, which was you don't include anything but exactly what they tell you. And I look at that and I think that's just not right, because the gene keys are so, it's an expanded version of the gates of human design. I mean, anybody who can read can see that that's exactly what it is. Ra-Uru was given clay and he made a lot of things out of it, but we are here as people to evolve human design, to continue to move it through. When you have this tight grip on something like that, it's going to stop people from wanting to be part of it because there's too many rules. I don't have any sway in anything that people do. I don't have any sway in how people have the content displayed or anything like that. But it's disheartening. It's disheartening to see that sort of grasp of you can't do it this way. You can't, add anything to it. For that reason, I'm very glad I don't have any certifications, because I'm not under anybody's rules or regulations. I practice human design the way I feel it should be practiced. Yes, there was a lot of good information that Jovian have that came from the source that came from Ra. But having said that, you have to look at, he was a human and he delivered it through his perspective. And I've said this before, he was a single definition manifester, which means that he would always have that perspective that I don't care, I don't need anybody. He also had shock, which was his way. I was never offended by him. I'm not offended by him. And I think if I'm offended by anything, I'm offended by people that are trying to hold on to the information. The one thing, yeah, he had his dark times, and I've listened to a lot of his work. And yes, you could hear him when he got dark. And, for lack of a better word, he got dark as in it felt like it was hopeless. It was, there was those points, but then there was other points where there's magic in what he would say. There was this mystical perspective, and it sort of drew you in. And that's the truth of what it means to me. It doesn't mean that if you didn't like him or something like that. Everybody has an ability to decide for themselves what they want to do and what they don't want to do. But my decision is that I'm going to talk about it the way I feel like I want to talk about it. I'm going to incorporate whatever I want to incorporate with it. I'm under no rules or regulations. I don't align with any group. I don't align with any group. I mean, I align with the group that says human design is so important in our world. And yet there's people who are holding on to it with their dear life, saying you can't have it. You have to pay money, and a lot of money, in order to have it. And it frustrates me so much. And that's why I've dedicated so much of my time and energy to try and give as much as I can for free. But it's not enough, because I'm only one person. And every time you have somebody coming in and saying, yeah, I'm going to grab this back and you're not going to have it, and we're going to wipe it from the internet, and you have to do it this way, because if you don't do it this way, we're going to take your credentials away. And then to top it all off, this week I got another email. I mean, I was just on a general list. It's not because I'm in any way, but this whole idea that if you were going to practice that new type of human design, you had to do it under these parameters. And I understand that everybody has original work and that type of thing. But every time we separate and dissect, we never get it together. Astrology, you can go out and you can buy a book and it doesn't matter. And yes, astrologers will disagree, and sometimes they'll even have fights, but I've never seen this whole censorship and this whole idea of you have to do it a certain way. Everybody, and I think that there's that frustration. And I know that going forward, it has changed my perspective. I want to continue to give my best and to spread what I know to everyone. And I know that not everybody's going to agree with me. I know there's people who are going to be frustrated with what I say, and that's fine. What is most important to me is that if if you can get something from human design, and if it's through me or somebody else, it doesn't matter to me. If it helps you in some way to see yourself as worthwhile, if you could just see yourself as worthwhile, different than everybody else, but that's okay, an individual or whatever. If you could just see yourself as someone that's not broken, and that, just getting to know yourself better is a good thing. Well, then my work is done. That's all I want to do. I just want to help as many people as I can, but I feel like um, there is a trend to limit, to suppress, and I see it, and I don't really know what I can do about it. But all I can say is this is my truth. This is why I'm here, and I will always give you only what I believe in. I will never give you something that I don't believe in. And I may change some things in the future because I have a feeling that there's going to be more of these claws coming out and grabbing people and whatever. Um, I have wanted more information that I couldn't get because I wasn't willing to spend a couple $1,000s to buy a book, because I had to be a certain level of professional. So, yes, there are limitations, and there's a lot of information that is inaccessible. But for now, that's where I stand. And I know it's a long diatribe, and if, I do apologize if anybody's offended by what I'm saying, or whatever. But I just felt like it's been bubbling up inside of me, and it makes me frustrated and disheartened, and it really does make me wonder where I'm going to go in the future. But having said that, I am committed to try and spread as much as I can, and I haven't changed that, but the way I deliver it may be something different in the future. But I just wanted to throw that out there for everybody, and I will always be true to what I believe in. I will always be true to what I feel is important in human design, and if I don't agree with something, then I'm not going to tell people that this is a good thing. So that's my truth. I just wanted to tell everybody that, and I hope that everybody understands. I will always be open for questions, and I want to help as many people as I can. But again, I'm just one person, and like I said, these claws are coming out. Let's see how it all plays out. But I just think that united, we're so much stronger than divided. That's just my opinion. So let's get into the transits after all that heavy stuff. Right now, the sun's in the gate 3. This is making the full channel with the 360. So we do have an activation of Pluto that's in the gate 60, as well as with the sun in the gate 3, we do have the full channel. So anybody with an open sacral in their body graph may feel like there's more, like there's a shift in the energy. So it's just a good time to sort of check in and feel like what it feels like for you. It's a wonderful time to understand what the energy of a defined sacral is, because when I would say, if you go out into, like, if you have an undefined sacral and then you go out into an environment where you're sort of getting a lot of sacral energy from other people, it may be harder to discern. But when this is sort of always on, and then eventually it will go off, and I think in another week or so, just to let you guys know that on the community tab, I am doing a daily little blip about the line that each gate is going to be in, but I also do add a little bit about the transits, about what's happening. So if you want to check that out and just see where exactly the transit, what exactly is happening. So if I think that there's something of value in the transits, I will actually put that in there so you'll have a perspective of what's happening. So I did talk about the sacral energy. So again, it is a good time to check in, see how it feels for you, and go from there for anybody with an open sacral. Anybody who has the gate 3, the gate 60, or the 360 in general will probably be feeling a lot of this energy. There is this level of this limitation for sure, because we are a limitation in line 1. Limitation in the line 1 is really always going to be the true epitome of what the energy feels like and what it means. When we talk about the gate 60, it really is this limitation. So it is also an individual energy. So we know that there's melancholy in all individual energy. When we do talk about the gate 3, we are talking about the melancholy of being limited. And so, in other words, you are an individual, by nature, but yet you're feeling limited by the need to conform. So a student in a class, and you need to conform to the collective of what exactly, and this conforming feels like limitation, and it's difficult. There's potential for you not to feel who you are and be able to express yourself as who you are, because you feel like you need to conform. And this is where that energy for the limitation is talking to. It is talking to this idea of not being able to be exactly who you feel you are, and needing to be limited in some way, so you can't express yourself exactly the way you want to. And for that reason, there's that sort of closing in, these invisible walls that feel like maybe you just want to get out. And that can be the energy that people are feeling, that there's these invisible walls that sort of feel like they're kind of closing in a little bit. So something to think about, though, is that during this time is the potential for a mutation, or the potential for a download, for lack of a better way of saying it, where you can actually start to get some very innovative or inspirational new ideas. Now, the thing about anything that's individual, when we talk about a download, or we talk about something new and innovative coming in, now that comes as a spark, or basically a spark, but the fire takes off when the collective takes this energy. So not everything that is new and unusual will make it into the collective. But when it does, that's when the collective take this energy and they start to make it their own. So the collective usually are going to really push the agenda of saying, okay, prove it. Let's see exactly where it goes. So I mean, if you look at the 63-4, that's the best place to say, prove it. Show me it's working. So by nature, the collective and individual energy are not going to be the best of friends, because the collective have a certain way of doing it, and they like to do it that way. That's what they're always doing. But then the individual comes in and says, okay, here's a different way of doing it, which kind of makes more work for them, because suddenly they have to start reconfiguring. So if we look at going from gas cars to electric cars, just think about how much infrastructure had to change for electric cars. Now, Elon Musk did that with the Tesla, for instance, but you can see that he actually didn't just he built it as he got an inspiration, or he basically used an inspiration of an electric car, and then he sort of brought it into the collective. But what he did was he made it easier for it to be adopted by the collective by having all the I think there's a network of charging stations and those types of things, which hadn't been done with electric cars before. So just to charge your car, how would you do it? So that's the difference between having this inspiration, saying, yeah, I'm going to make an electric car, but then you have to have the collective perspective of how are you going to make it so that people can use it in a way that's practical, so that we can drive around and not run out of electricity, and be in the middle of nowhere, not really be able to charge up, or those types of things. So that's kind of how this energy works. But there can be this feeling of, it is a full channel of 360, and there could be, like I said, some downloads of sparks of innovation, or this idea that there's some level of confusion. You feel like you have an a download, or you feel like you've gotten something new, but you can't really understand how it's going to work, or those types of things. So there is some level of confusion always going to be built into the gate 3. So the key here is to wait for it to clear, because it will clear. You will get the clarity, as long as you can be open to waiting for it to happen, because that's the thing about these things. It's just like the seed sprouting. It has to have all the right circumstances for it to sprout. You can't, like, for instance, if we see the seed, it is on the board. Now, if we just see the seed on the board, there's no way it is ever going to grow, because it doesn't have sun, it doesn't have rain or anything like that. But if we have it in a place where it's open, where you can see the sun comes down and it gets wet, and the wetness, maybe it rains for a few days, and the shell starts to get a little bit softened, and then it starts to sprout. Well, it also has to find a place to sprout. So the sprout starts to grow down, and then it needs to have some chlorophyll. Then it needs to have all the things to make, because it has only so much life inside of it, and then it needs to have all those other things. That's what individual energy is all about. Is you get this thing, especially with the gate 3, you get this idea, but you just can't see how it all figures out. So to be patient and understand that when the timing is right, you will get more clarity with this energy, and that's what that energy is all about. April 21st, we have the sun is moving into the gate 27. So now we're moving from individual energy into tribal energy. The thing about caring is this is a wonderful energy for taking care of people, for nurturing, for nourishing, for all those things. It is half of the channel of the 2750. We also have the gate 50 in play right now, and that's in the earth is in the gate 50, and we also have right now Venus is in the gate 27 as well. Even before we have the sun moving into the gate 27, we already have a 2750 channel, which is a tribal channel, and it is related to, and it is going to give more sacral energy as well. So again, a lot of ways that we're having sacral energy, and they could be feel differently based on how what channels are actually activating the energy. Or you could say the nurturing side of the gate, the 2750. The 50 is where you have the rules, regulations. This could be the energy that makes everybody mind the rules to do what they're meant to do. This can be cooking. This can mean all those types of things. And then we have the gate 27, which is all about being selfless or selfish. It could be both of those, but I think the best place for anybody with the gate 27 is to find some place in the middle. A lot of healthcare professionals have this energy within their body graph. The energy with the gate 27 is it's all about balance. To understand that caring is a beautiful thing, and nurturing and nourishing and all those types of things are beautiful things, but at the end of the day sometimes it can get sort of out of hand, where it becomes codependent. It becomes where there's too much of a trying to protect everybody who's within your tribe. Now there's no fear. The fear is not within this energy of the 27. This is just the caring part of it, but the fear is related to the gate 50, which if you have the 27, even if you have a hanging gate 27, a lot of times you're going to get the electromagnetic, because that's the nature of the energy. So there's this idea of coming into potentially letting the people down that you love, and sometimes you're just giving too much of yourself and not allowing enough to come back to you. This could be a one way giving, as opposed to you can have it in the balanced area. In when it's balanced, it's like it's give and take. You're receiving as much as you're giving, or you're receiving as well as giving. It maybe not equally, because it doesn't always work that way, especially if you have young children. But ultimately it's holding on when it's right to hold on, letting go right when it's right to let go, and to allow people to evolve. And especially when you have children with this energy, it's very easy to get so wrapped up into the caring part of it that you forget that at some point you have to let your the people you're caring for, and it could be children, or it could be your spouse, it could be your parents, it could be anybody. But at some point you have to let the person that you're caring for take care of themselves, because that's part of the energy working in a way that it's beneficial for all. We could really be talking about how people are being cared for, self-care, taking care of others. And right now, with a lot of the pandemic things, we could be hearing more about how things are working in the healthcare scene, or how people are taking care of themselves. So yes, the thing about the gate 27 is that you just want to have the balance. The gate 27 is all about balance, finding the balance to care enough, and to sort of like let go when you need to let go. And when you do that, you're not going to be driving around empty on empty, because what can happen is you just drain yourself so much to the point where there's nothing left for anything. You're just basically hollow, because everything has been given to other people. So this is about fueling up as much as it is about driving around and taking care of other people. And right now the earth is in the gate 50, which is all about the things I was talking about. And that's sort of the energy of responsibility, taking care. So we have a full tribal channel, because we do have Venus and I believe Mercury are sort of there for a little while, not too much longer, but there is that level of energy that we can feel. And on April 21st, we do have, with the gate 27, we have the gate 28. Now, basically, this is called struggle, but I like to call it possible, because I think the one thing that you can say about the gate 28 is that if somebody tells you that you can't do something, you're more than likely to say, no, I can. When you carry this energy, you might have more struggles in life, but the whole meaning of this energy is to see what's worth struggling for, and what is better just left alone. And I think as a person gets older, they realize more what is actually worthwhile and what is not worthwhile. And this is one of the fear gates, as we know, as well as the gate 50. So we have a couple of the fear gates sort of consecutively going through because they are sort of in the same area between Libra and Scorpio. So astrologically, because all gates have a specific astrological range of degrees where they are situated on the mandala. So, this is about this idea of finding out what's worthwhile in life and what isn't, and why are you struggling for everything? Because sometimes you get to the point when you have the gate 28, you want to struggle for everything. Everything, it's almost like you want to put obstacles in front of you because that's what you're so used to. But at some point, you can say that, this can be wanting to do everything yourself and not really wanting anybody else to help you because you say, well, I can do it myself, I don't need any help from anybody. But this is also the idea that if you don't have to do everything yourself. In fact, you can have, if you have the ability to have people help you, or you have the ability to outsource it, then do that, because then you can do what you're really good at, and it can help you sort of get more done in the day and those types of things. There's a lot of stubbornness in this energy. So again, this is the other thing about, what choices are you making that are trying to pursue more the more, I guess, difficult path, as opposed to trying to find the path that yeah, there may be some difficulties in it, but it's a little bit easier than another path. So trying to look at where you might be sort of pulling yourself or putting yourself in a position where maybe it could be an easier, there's an easier route than what you've been doing, those types of things. And also, when there are struggles in life, that there really isn't anything that you can do about it other than, work with that struggle and move through it. And what this energy talks to is, what have you learned? There's a resilience that can come out of this energy, that when you have been pushed, or the obstacles in your path have shown you how much what's worth fighting for, what is worth pushing that extra little bit to get to the other side of it. This stubbornness to continue to move forward, even if life keeps telling you no. This energy says yes, but the balance is making sure that the yes is really worthy. The yes is something that you truly feel is worthwhile, as opposed to just saying that I'm going to do it no matter what. And that's the stubbornness. Or you could say the other perspective is the resilience. So finding a balance between stubbornness and resilience is the energy that is going to work best with anybody who has this energy. And it is, again, the can do energy, where if somebody tells you you can't do something, you're more than likely to try and push through and say, oh, definitely you're wrong, I am definitely going to be doing this no matter what. It's almost like a challenge anytime someone says to you that you can't do something. So this is the energy that we're going to be grounded in. And so I think that the struggle, like I said, there's the high side is going to be this resilience to get through the tough parts of life. The other side would be just being stubborn, and also maybe giving up hope and thinking that there is no purpose in life. There is no value in the struggles of our life. There's no value in what we're doing. It's just a waste of time. So finding the balance to realize that life teaches us lessons, and sometimes the hardest lessons are the best lessons for us. It doesn't feel like it's the best lesson during the experience, but afterwards we can look at it and say, yes, I am stronger for that, because if I hadn't had that, I wouldn't know this part of myself like I do right now. Right now, Mercury's in the gate 3. We talked a lot about that. So when we're talking about Mercury, this is about the what people are talking about. This can be the media, the news, what people are talking about. And this is like people saying, yeah, we're trying to restart something. It's difficult. It's not easy, but we're continuing to do it. We're trying to get some new things off the ground, those types of things. So that's the kind of things we could be hearing. And then when we talk about this could be talking about trying to take better care of ourselves, maybe health wise, maybe taking care of our children. Maybe we're talking about children being cared for, or people who are vulnerable. How are we taking care of the people who are vulnerable in the world? Are we self-sacrificing too much? Are we nourishing ourselves as much as we nourish other people? Are we being too selfish? Are we caring, like I said, too much? So it's all about finding the balance of where exactly it is that we can find where we are helping as much as we are helping, yet we are not harming by helping too much. And I think that that's the balance. If we can find that, then that's good. So that could be stuff what we're talking about in the news. And then on April 23rd, we have the gate 24 is the energy of trying to search for the unknowable, because it is pressurized. With the full channel is the energy that we felt for the whole of 2020, with Pluto being in the gate 61, which was a fuel to try and find answers to questions that maybe don't have answers. So the key with this energy is always to have the concept of what is worth knowing, what is not worth knowing, and what is unknowable. Now, if you can find the difference, or you can see the difference in all those different questions, then that is where you start to feel like you can get the silence. Because the thing about this is, with the gate 24, or if you have the whole channel, the 6124, then there could be a lot of mind chatter where you get stuck in your head, and you have the same questions going over and over and over again. There can be a level of addiction with this energy as well. And it makes a lot of sense, because sometimes that mind loop gets so intense that you just want to quiet it. And so there can be potential to have things that will quiet your mind. So the energy here is to realize those three questions. And if you can see the difference between all three of them, and this is very much like the gate 3, in that there is some level of patience to understand that if you allow time and patience and waiting and sort of letting go of this expectation of when exactly you're going to get the answer, usually that's when things will sort of come easier, and it will sort of flow easier with you and for you, and things will start to, those questions that need to be answered will get answered. And the funny part of it is as soon as you let go, it generally is when you get that epiphany, and it goes, oh wow. As soon as I let go, that's when things sort of kind of came to me, and it began to flow. This can be also about rationalizing, and this can be rationalizing, people rationalizing what they're doing, hearing about people saying, oh, well, I'm going to do this because I have every right to do this. Now, that could be in a good way, or it could be in a way that they're trying to rationalize something that they're doing that is not necessarily a good thing, but they're rationalizing it in some way. So those are the types of energies that we can actually see. So the key is just to let go and allow the energy to unfold the way it's going to. And the thing is we can never force a flower to bloom. We can never force a butterfly to get out of their cocoon any faster, and you can never force an answer to come to you any quicker than it will. And that's kind of, if you can understand that, then that will be so much better for you. And whenever you do, if you do have this energy and you do find you're just kind of stuck in your head, a lot of times what is very helpful for this energy is to actually be doing something physically where you can't actually be thinking. You're basically so focused on something that you can't actually get lost in your head and start thinking about other things, because you have to be focused on that. Like, I know that some people who play sort of like tennis or something, you have to be focused on the ball coming, and that's just for instance. There's a lot of other things to do that can make you get focused on something other than the thoughts in your head. And when that happens, it can really help a lot to unwind from the spin that the mind can get you going in. Right now, Venus is in the gate 27. So again, this is a Venusian energy, or we could say a feminine energy, but it doesn't have to be female energy, a softer energy. This can be about relationships. It could be caring in relationships, and wanting to be cared for as much as you're caring for somebody else. And maybe you're starting to see that maybe you're, like I said, you're caring more for somebody than they are caring for you, and maybe you want more of more equality in that, in what you're giving and receiving as well, rather than just a one-sided giving and not really receiving much back. April 21st, we have Venus going into the gate 24. Again, all the things we just talked about with Mercury. One little thing that I would say about Venus in the gate 24 would be this idea that this wanting, this addiction to these pleasures of life. So maybe there's more of wanting to have more comfort food, or wanting to have more alcohol, or wanting to have more chocolate, or the finer things of life, which is always fine. But this might get to the point where it's getting so much that it's problematic for you. Maybe it's causing health concerns, and maybe that it would be better for you to sort of shift out of that. On April 20th, Mars is going into the gate 15, and that's when I told you between April 20th and April 22nd, we're going to have the full channel of the 515, and that's going to be with the south node and also Mars. With the full channel of the 515, we do have this potential, because the nodes are the roads we're walking on. We can also talk about karma and those types of things. I mean, this is extremism, the gate 15 and with the gate 5, so we have a full channel. Now, that could balance the energy, so it's not as one-sided, I could say. You could say it's not as one-sided, but the energy for wanting to change the status quo, you have a lot of activism in this energy. You have a lot of this need to love of humanity, right? So you want everybody some level of equality, but sometimes what happens is there's this way of getting lost in the energy of trying to make change, and you start to maybe make change with a forceful energy, because we do have Mars, and or you're trying to force your agenda on other people, and when that happens, other people push back. They don't want to have anything forced on them. So this is also, Mars is going to be moving into 15 line 1, which is going to be the alienation of other people based on your need to have change. So like, I feel like between the 20th and the 22nd, we might see some activity in the world about activism, trying to break out of the pattern of what's been potential for extremism. This is logical energy, so you would expect that there'd be some level of pattern in it. But when you get this love of humanity, there could be this energy of trying to break out of the pattern or challenge a pattern or move into something new, because the other pattern isn't working. Next couple of days, for between April 20th and April 22nd, that will be another sacral energy we're going to feel between the 515, and it will be potentially to have a different feel for anybody with an open sacral, just to see another type of energy and what it feels like. On April 23rd, we do have the nodes moving after a couple of months, and they're going to be moving into the gate 16 and also the gate 9. The gate 16 is going to be in the north node, and the gate 9 is going to be in the south node. We're moving from the experience of the gate 35, which is an abstract, and also the 5, which is the logic as well. And now we're moving into full logic, only logical energy. Talk about the nodes. We are, as I said, talking about the road we're walking on. This is the environment. You could say the collective world are the new roads they're walking on. And what this is talking to is the 16 and the 9. We're talking about a lot of repeating patterns, a lot of the same thing, doing it over and over again, and continuing to build on something new. So this is where we're starting to get mastery. This is where we're starting to try and get better at something. So if we think about the gate 35, is you've come to the point where you're jaded and you only want to have the experiences that are really worth your while. Now you were going to the gate 16, and we're saying, okay, we found some things that are worthwhile, so now we're going to start to become masters in those energies. And that's kind of, if you look at the transition. So maybe there's been a lot of things, and in reality there has been a lot of flux in the world. Like, things have not been, they've not been very stable, we know that. But now maybe this is finally saying, okay, we have some level of stability coming, and now we're going to start moving towards getting better at what we know we can do. So if we look at 2020 and the pandemic came in, and a lot of things that we didn't know, this is saying that now we see where the deficiencies were, where the issues were, and now we can start to build some momentum to fix those issues, so that in the future we have a stronger base for combating, or to roll with the punches, you could say, with what life is bringing you and what the pandemic and all those other things are bringing you. So when we look at the gate 9 and the gate 16, because they are polarities, they're on opposite sides, we do have this energy of the enthusiasm to get the new skills, the enthusiasm to find the energy to do all the new things that you want to do. And then the gate 9 is talking to the idea that you want to have the skills to be able to do those things. And I think there's, if anything, there's this impatience to get to get good at things, to learn something. So in other words, like, for instance, if you're brand new to human design, and the first thing you want to do is you want to know everything. It's almost like you want to be able to have somebody do like just this download into your brain, and then immediately you know all the information. And this is a frustration that can be with the 16-9 when you get those two energies together. This idea that you're really excited about something brand new that you're bringing into the that you've learned, or you're like, it's something brand new, and it's exciting, and there's that real enthusiasm. Years ago, when I was first, I'd never done jewelry before, and years ago when I started to do jewelry, and literally every bead I saw was a thrill, and every wire I saw was a thrill. Eventually that does go, because that's the beginning stage. It's the enthusiasm, the enthusiasm to get more, to get the skills, to do all the things you do, to buy every book in the store that tells you how to do this thing. And then the gate 9 is this hyper focus where you're just in it to get more, to get more, to get more. But there is always going to be this frustration that it's not fast enough. It's like you just want it to be faster. You want it to learn it, to get it in there before, as soon as possible. So what this is talking about is having the patience to see that, yes, you are excited about this new thing. You do want to learn about this new skill, or this new whatever you want to do, but to understand that it's going to take time and focus, and sometimes you can get so hooked on the like I said, the small things that you're doing, and you get so hooked on not seeing that you're actually getting ahead. So every chapter you read of a new book that's teaching you something new, you're thinking, oh, I still know nothing, I still know nothing. But yes, you've read that one chapter, and then eventually you'll read the whole book, or whatever, you'll have a whole course, and then suddenly you say, oh my gosh, I actually do know something. And that's what this energy is all about. This idea that you want to learn something, but you want it yesterday, but knowing that it will come, and every step you take towards that big goal, or that big dream, or whatever you are, that new learning thing, that new skill, that new mastery that you want to do, everyone is going to eventually bear fruit. But you just have to see the big picture, and realize that every step is going it's all going to bear fruit eventually, but it's going to take time, because that's what happens with mastery. You can't have it overnight. You can't be a concert pianist by having, a week of piano lessons. You have to do it for years, and then eventually you do get better. And then if you look at all the small steps that take somebody to that point where they're actually an expert in their field, it takes a while. It takes a lot of repetition. It takes a lot of doing the thing over and over again. But if you don't put the time in, you're never going to be a master, because that's part of what it's all about. Eventually, something, if you're learning to play an instrument, eventually it gets to the point where it just becomes part of who you are. It's just like part of your body, because you've done it so many times that you no longer have this concept of, oh, okay, I gotta put my finger here on the, if I'm playing a guitar, I have to put my finger there. I have to, do this. I have to throw all those different things. That all of a sudden it just becomes this mastery, because you are an expert. So if you can have that, that's what we're looking at. We're trying to find mastery. This is the new road we're talking about, the new road we're walking on. But there is this enthusiasm, and also a level of frustration that things are not moving fast enough. So if we can have patience with our process, patience with who we are, patience with our humanity, then that will make this process a lot better. And eventually the mastery will come. But again, it's not going to come unless you continue to push yourself to do that next lesson, to do that next repetition, to continue to wash, rinse, and repeat. And that's all for this week. And I hope you have a wonderful week. And I will see you again next week. Take care. Bye for now.